Doctor Strange 2 being garbage. It's a video essay. So let's see. Uh, Me and my boy Hybrid did have some gripes with the Multiverse of Madness movie. I personally called it the Multiverse of Mid. To each man their own. But yeah, let's see.
Seeing Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness was the equivalent to running into an angry sea bass after ordering a meal.
You gonna eat that? Hell, bro.
I just wanted to have a good time. I paid good money, but in the end, it was the ultimate Rickroll. Doctor Strange 2 is
Was
an
it?
absolute mess, and anyone who's followed its up and down production schedule or listened to what the star himself has said, you can see why.
So this is
So
your movie.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's part of the problem.
Is
There's a
it?
lot of stuff going on in it. It's like, well,
Boy,
everyone's
do
in
I have
it.
a character arc in this? Is it working?
Yeah.
Well, Benedict, the movie is out, and the answer to that question is no. No, you do not have a character arc. This movie isn't Doctor Strange's movie. Remember when Civil War had a ton of characters, but it still found a way to make it Steve Rogers' story?
Yeah, bro. That man was beating us.
How it pushed his character forward? Yeah, there's no equivalent of that
That
here.
nigga could
I
do it all
honestly
day.
can't believe some of the praise this movie's getting, and some of the hoops people are jumping through to excuse why people like myself didn't enjoy it. I really, really wanted this
Okay.
movie to be good because Phase 4 of the MCU has towed the line between utter failure and complete disaster with one incredible film holding the whole thing up.
Yes, sir, bro.
But it's clear at this
Spider-Man carrying hard.
point that
You ain't got Spider-Man. You are nothing. You are nothing.
the MCU is slowly
Nothing.
but surely destroying its past in order to prop up its future. Anything suggesting that it's honoring its legacy seems to be more of a sham than anything else. Characters are getting rolled over to make new ones look better, and this movie continues that trend. The acting, a saving grace. The directing, misplaced. The writing, possibly the worst the MCU's seen. The effects, some great, some straight from the early 2000s.
Hybrid. You called this out, bro. You're talking about her face.
Overall,
This is shit! This is a table of shit!
spoilers ahead, so be warned, but all things considered, you'd probably be better off knowing these things before you see it. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness' story finds the good doctor trying to hide a new character named America Chavez from the Scarlet Witch. America's power set is that she can jump through the multiverse, and Wanda wants to take those powers so that she can be with her children that we
Good.
last saw on the WandaVision TV show. You know, the
I would love.
Scarlet Witch. America's power set is that she can jump through the multiverse. And Wanda
I
wants to take
would
those powers.
love to see these visuals while tripping. I would love to do that. Shit will go crazy.
So that she can be with her children that we last saw on the WandaVision TV show.
3.5 grams.
The children who
I
didn't
might try it.
actually exist. We'll get to how stupid this is in a minute. People can forgive lacking visuals, so-so acting, and choppy editing most of the time as long as the script and story of a film is good. But without a good script, those issues become more glaring because there's nothing to make up for them. And holy God, this movie's writing is absolutely atrocious. The studio began reshoots for this movie in late 2021, mere months before it was set to come out. And that's pretty
Damn.
typical, especially for an MCU movie. But then we found out it was going to go on for over 6 weeks, far beyond what's normal for reshoots and pickups. The result is clear as day. You can see it in the shifting of Doctor Strange's wig line. They must have reshot nearly 60 to 70% of this movie. Apparently, the original test screenings didn't go very well, and combine that with the incredible reception to Spider-Man No Way Home and its intro of characters from the other Spidey films, they must have felt they had to do something drastic to keep up. Well, it didn't work. A hastily written story usually involves contrivances or and then storytelling. But you want a story to have because of storytelling.
We can take these beats, which are basically the beats of your outline, and if the words and then belong between those beats, you're f***ed, basically. You got something pretty boring. What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word therefore or but, right? So what I'm saying is that you come up with an idea and it's like, okay, this happens, right? And then this happens. No, it should be this happens and therefore this happens. But this happens, therefore this happens.
An example would be, because Wanda lost Vision in Infinity War, she seeks out White Vision from the end of her TV show. Instead, we get and then. Wanda made up kids in her mind, and then she finds out they were made up, and then she seeks out an alternate universe where they actually exist. Yeah, you can come up with reasons and pretend
So this didn't happen. Wait, what?
Infinity
Wait.
War, she seeks out White Vision from the example would be, because Wanda lost Vision in Infinity War, she seeks out White Vision from the end of her TV show.
Okay.
Instead, we get and then. Wanda made up kids in her mind, and then she finds out they were made up, and then she seeks out an alternate universe where they actually exist. Yeah, you can come up with reasons and pretend they're really good excuses, but it completely falls apart under any scrutiny whatsoever. The antagonist of the film, Wanda Maximoff, is seeking her kids that didn't actually exist. One, because children are probably cheaper to get than Paul Bettany, I'm sure. And two, because whatever. That's what the writers want. Regardless of the fact that it makes her character look stupid and the script has to keep giving her free passes for horrible things she's done or is doing. She put an entire town under her spell and left the citizens begging her to just kill them.
If you won't let us go, just let us die.
But according to Doctor Strange, she set things right, so it's okay. How did
Alright.
Infinity War, she seeks out White Vision from the end of her TV show. Instead, we get and then. Wanda made up kids in her mind, and then she finds out they were made up, and then she seeks out an alternate universe where they actually exist.
I guess this is fair. I don't know. I think there should be like a therefore there.
To just kill them.
If you won't let us go, just let us die.
But according to Doctor Strange, she set things right, so it's okay. How did she set things right? By just leaving? Very heroic. Now she's in possession of something
Just
called
what?
the Darkhold that she's utilizing to try and capture America Chavez. So she can use America's power to travel the multiverse and find her kids in an alternate reality. And the Darkhold has its grip on her, so that's why she's going extra evil and saying ridiculous things in this film like, "You made me kill these people," after obliterating the sorcerer's stronghold of Kamartaj. Never mind that she sought out the book in the first place to find kids that never actually existed. It's like we're missing a massive chunk of story that could explain why this character is dumb as shit now. Why isn't she seeking out Vision? White Vision's still alive in the world. Why not go after him? The script knows how absurd this is and has Doctor Strange point out the obvious. What about the Scarlet Witch in the other universe, who's the actual mother of these children? And she doesn't have an answer, because there is no rational answer. Here's a tip. Pointing out your stupids doesn't mean they are now not stupid. It's stupid. The Darkhold might be why she went on a killing spree, but all it did was amplify the idiocy that was already there, not change her goals. And what about our main character, Doctor Strange himself? Well, here's the thing. There's so much going on with the shockingly brief runtime that Strange himself seems almost like another cog in the MCU machine rather than a full character. During the movie, I was reminded a lot of how he is used in Spider-Man No Way Home as kind of a tool to move the story around and get the plot moving in the direction they needed, except not done as well. Not even close. This movie definitely has his name in the title, but at no point does it feel like his movie. There are hints of who he is here and there, but there's no arc for him whatsoever in this. The film touches on a few things. Yep, he still loves Christine, and he gets cucked right at the beginning of the movie. Trust me, I hate that word too, but it is what it is. And he still doesn't have her at the end. He's not the Sorcerer Supreme at the beginning of the film, and he still isn't at the end. He gets a third eye from using the Darkhold and screaming at the end of the movie. Then immediately in the post-credits, he's totally fine. The film has absolutely zero progress for Strange as a character. The movie feels as episodic as the MCU has ever felt, as and then storytelling as it ever has been. There's no character development in his own film that's any deeper than what we've seen in supporting roles for Strange. It's insane to me that there's less to say about him in his own movie than there is about Scarlet Witch. At least there's something there to complain about with her, but the only real conclusion I can come to for how I feel about Strange is that, well, at least he's in the movie. And these are just problems with the main characters. As far as actual events, I can't believe that people were paid millions of dollars to write what I saw on screen. You could feel the hasty rewrites as they were unfolding. The movie opens with Strange having a dream where he and America Chavez were running from a monster. And shortly after, he runs into them for real. And she tells him that people's dreams are actually of alternative versions of themselves from other realities. But she is the only America Chavez in the entire multiverse. Isn't it convenient that out of an infinite number of versions of himself that he could have seen in his dream, that he happened to see the one that was with the literal one and only Miss Chavez, who he was going to meet not 5 minutes later in the movie. Later in the film, once the two of them have passed into
I guess. Yeah. Like when you stop and think about that, yeah, but you know, chill,
To
bro.
another universe, Strange and Chavez walk by a store that records memories for them, and just so happen to step on a platform that automatically begins playing memories that are vital to the plot. For Strange, the memory that pops up is that of a moment when Christine gave him a watch as a gift, a plot device that would be used later in the film. America Chavez steps on the platform and it dumps the scenario of the first time she used her multiverse jumping powers that accidentally sent her parents spiraling into apparent oblivion. It seems Chavez's multiverse jumping powers engaged during times of hyper stress, so to show this, the writers had a bee land on her hand. That's what set her off for the first time. A bee landing on her hand. I fucking facepalmed when I saw this. I just imagined the execs and filmmakers sitting at a round table discussing how they were going to give Chavez's story some background, and this is what they came up with. A bee.
Hey, we need to give Chavez's backstory some drama. How do we do that?
Make her responsible for her parents' disappearance with her powers. Give her some guilt and stuff.
Well, how did she make them disappear? What scared her enough to use her powers for the first time?
What if she's picking flowers and a bug makes her shit herself?
Genius.
Isn't it convenient that Strange and Chavez came across the store that could pop up their memories? And isn't it convenient that the memories that popped up were necessary for the story to progress? What if the memory that popped up for Strange was him plowing Christine instead? Pretty convenient that it wasn't anything embarrassing like that, eh? I couldn't believe what I was watching when this scene happened. Absolutely zero desire was had trying to get this information organically to the audience. Nope, instead an insanely lazy plot device was devised by the writers to shove this info into the audience's collective faces. Outrageously stupid character moments happen throughout the film, and it's clear it's because of crappy, hastily decided.
Yeah, that is rather convenient. Yeah. Ah, we'll have to see how many conveniences there are to see if it
Upon
makes sense.
rewrites. At one point after Scarlet Witch desecrates Camartage, she has Wong tied up while she dreamwalks through another universe to find Chavez and Strange, leaving the Darkhold actually sitting beside her. A surviving sorceress tells Wong that she's going to sacrifice herself to destroy it, and sure as shit, she does. Moments later, Wong immediately confesses to Wanda that the spells in the Darkhold are etched into stone on a fucking mountain after she starts torturing some of the surviving sorcerers in front of him in order to make him spill the beans. Cool, so Wong is aware that the Darkhold itself doesn't matter, but lets the sorceress die for it without saying a word to stop her. Then Wanda tortures surviving sorcerers who were just lying on the ground, even though it was implied earlier that everyone there was dead. Guess they were just lying there because they were tired. Then when Wanda asks him to tell her how to get a
They could
hold
have
of the
been,
spells again,
to be fair, they could have been incapacitated. Um, Dead and incapacitated is usually how it goes. So for this one, yeah, like if she just died, like I don't know, bro. I don't know, bro. She didn't know that it
just
was etched. I
lying
don't
on the
know,
ground, even though it was implied earlier that everyone there was dead. Guess they were just lying there because they were tired. Then when Wanda asks him to tell her how to get a hold of the spells again, instead of just saying there isn't any way to get the spells, he tells her, "You'll have to kill me," which tells her that there is another way to get a hold of them.
What the fuck?
Just tell her that the book
Go
was the
sit
only
down.
way. What the actual fuck? Did this happen because, oh, I don't know, they needed the story to progress? So he basically sent that sorceress to her death 5 seconds ago for absolutely no reason. I'm sure an
Bozo.
MCU stan will come up with an excuse for this stupidity. Maybe they'll tell me he had a vendetta against her or something. As far as bad writing goes, there's a true winner. The epic bait and switch cameo scene with the Illuminati. There's so much wrong with the scene, I question where to begin. Marvel and Disney tried to generate as much hype as they could with the reveal of these characters in the trailers, and then pulled the rug out from underneath the audience by having them be completely irrelevant and unimportant. Disney and
Yep.
Marvel clearly are aware of what fans want, hence the fan casting of John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, and they know people want to see the X-Men and Fantastic Four, so it's absurd to suggest it's people's own fault that they hyped it up for themselves. Marvel hyped this up. They want money. this is how you get more of it. This had the same feeling as the Quicksilver Ralph Bonner situation in WandaVision, where they had the same actor who played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men universe reprise his role. But they were just kidding, it wasn't really him, he just looks like him. It's actually your fault you expected us to follow through with the X-Men introduction that we purposely set up to generate excitement.
Let's go fuck
Yeah.
myself.
Disney gaslights like a toxic ex. The Illuminati are promptly introduced and then promptly disposed of by Wanda in some pretty ludicrous ways, but I can chalk some of that up to
It's pretty silly to be like, that's not like its intention, when that's pretty blatantly what they're trying to do, to build hype, to get more people talking, to get more people in to see it, to get
being
more money.
Sam Raimi's
Pretty
style.
obvious.
Either way, the entire time I couldn't help thinking, this is how you introduce the Fantastic Four and X-Men into the MCU? Obviously, they're variants and don't belong to the 616 universe, but this still marks their first appearance. And they're introduced and then quite frankly humiliated in the way they're treated. Reed Richards is played by John Krasinski, who doesn't come off as the smartest man in the universe whatsoever. More of just, well, John Krasinski. Super nice person. It's cool they got Anson Mount back as a variant of Black Bolt, but it's a toss-up who gets humiliated worse, him or Richards. And I am exhausted from seeing Patrick Stewart's Xavier die on screen. We watched him die in X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Days of Future Past, Logan, and now this. Holy shit, leave this man alone. His death scene made me actually laugh out loud, and I was most definitely laughing at the movie, not with it. It was clear from Spider-Man No Way Home's success that Disney felt
They hold the Fantastic Four. They hold the Illuminati. The Illuminati got fucking hold. They got hold. So bad. They got hold.
compelled to get these cameos in here, but that was a massive mistake. They would have been better off without this for the sake of the MCU's future. You made the money off this now, but it's going to hurt the franchise in the long run. How can you embarrassingly dispatch your first introduction to Reed Richards and Charles Xavier and then actually expect audiences to care as much when the 616 versions come around? This scene was written specifically to hurry up and get the Fantastic Four and X-Men an appearance in the MCU despite the long-term negative impact it could have. Not to mention they have Doctor Strange basically shit all over Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four during his short interaction with him, making fun of the team and then followed up nicely with Reed getting annihilated by Wanda. This is writing that has no
freaking dies, bro. Obliterated.
consideration whatsoever for what's to come. Want to talk about alternate versions done correctly versus how to do it completely wrong? Again, look no further than Strange's last movie appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home for how to do this right. To honor and respect those characters you're pulling in, instead of dropping them into a scene that's hastily written and then shitting all over them. And I'm pretty sure people are far more excited about the FF and X-Men entering the MCU than seeing alternate Captain Marvel and Peggy Carter, who yes is cool to see, but come on, let's be real. Yet the movie disposes of Reed, Black Bolt, and Xavier in embarrassing fashion while the ladies put up the longest fight. Okay. I try not to give credence to an agenda too much, but really? This looks suspiciously like Marvel crapping on its own legacy and the things people actually enjoy about its franchise, just to prop up characters that honestly no one asked for. And this trash writing's certainly not helped out by how horribly edited this movie is. The editing is another area where you can actually feel the haste in which this movie was put together in the last 5 months. The reshoots took place from November to January this year, and then they squeezed it out for a May release. Incredible. Maybe I should give praise that it didn't come out even worse than it did. Yet even reviews that praise this movie have criticized the pacing, and for good reason. The movie starts off immediately with an action sequence featuring horrible CGI, and it doesn't slow down at all from there. It just jumps from one situation to another with the and then storytelling leading the editing and pacing, reminding the audience that MCU characters aren't allowed to speak more than a minute at a time before having that always needed action scene to make sure things don't get too interesting on the character side of things. Early in the film, Wanda threatens Strange that if he doesn't give up Chavez by sunrise, then she'll be there to get her. Strange then returns to Carmitage, rallies the troops, preps them for defense, and now it's morning and Wanda's arriving and attacking. This happens in literally 2 minutes. The pacing of this movie is quite frankly breakneck and not in a fun way. No, more of a, wow, this movie was edited and hacked to shit kind of way. For all the hype this movie's getting for being Sam Raimi Unleashed, I couldn't disagree more. This definitely feels like Sam Raimi on a leash, with some things that are very him being apparent but also feeling completely out of place. Like he might not have been the best choice for this movie after all. I didn't hate that he directed this, but it was reported that he helped write and adjust the script with Michael Waldron, and you can tell with the cheesy, campy factor on display sporadically throughout the film. There are some genuinely cool moments that are clearly on him if you know his style and filmography at all, but otherwise this feels like the MCU formula kind of movie that Raimi got to dab some of his style on. It's kind of cool that New York City looks pretty close to the New York in his Spider-Man trilogy, for example. But his
Ooh.
style is camp, camp, and more camp, with some really odd Dutch camera angles and interesting creepy shots, and I'm not sure if that really jives with the MCU style. This is far from a horror movie, and no, this shouldn't actually scare anyone. Yes, children see these movies, but let's not forget that the demographic comprises mostly of 18 to 34-year-olds, so let's be real. This isn't frightening people. Don't listen to the hype. Cumberbatch himself admits in interviews he doesn't consider this a horror film, so why the hell are we trying to pretend it is? And as far as
Why
Multiverse of
would
Madness
anybody
goes, he isn't
try to
allowed
say
to
this
do
is
much
horror?
with said multiverse. There's a very, very short sequence where Chavez and Strange are blasting through multiple universes that looks absolutely terrific. But other than that, we spend most of the time in one universe where the craziest difference is people stop on green and go on red. Wow. Crazy. Utter madness, even. Raimi has a cool eye for weird, and that's his signature. But the way he handles character interactions has a lot to be desired. It's where the campiness chokes this movie to death, and compounded with an abysmal script, and it's some of the most laughable, shallow character moments in the MCU to date. At one point, Christine encourages Steven by reminding him, "You're the master of the mystic arts." And people in my theater actually laughed. And no, this was not supposed to be funny. I will admit though, a moment that very much worked for me was near the end when Strange is saying goodbye to the variant of Christine and confesses that he loves her in every universe. It was a very poignant line and read by a master actor, and of course being something good in the film, the scene was cut far shorter than it should have been. But wow, that line was delivered in outstanding fashion by a fantastic actor. And man, does Cumberbatch do the best he can with what he has in this film. There are a few things these movies can't get wrong, and that would be casting. Well, besides Brie Larson. Elizabeth Olsen and Benedict Cumberbatch are in top form, which makes the story they have to deal with even more tragic. What a waste of incredible talent, both in the quality of the actress Olsen is and utter awesomeness that is Scarlet Witch and the potential she had as a villain. Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange, much like
They fumbled the bag with Scarlet Witch. They fumbled.
Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. Not to suggest that Strange could be the lead of the MCU though. The character himself works better as a supporting character. And well, like I said, he definitely feels like one despite his name being in the title. But something tells me that wasn't intentional. Rachel McAdams is fine. She's whatever. Xochitl Gomez is also very whatever. She's also fine. She's young, so I can't disparage her acting ability too much. It doesn't distract, but it's certainly not a highlight. And you know what? I'll just be the one to say it. That fucking mole on McAdams' face drove me insane.
Your chair, Dr. Eva.
I'm back to the line. I feel like the de facto lead currently.
And I saw it in IMAX, so it's all I could stare at.
So you're the...
I feel like he's the only real one you would think as the lead.
I feel like the wardrobe department felt the same, but no one wanted to say anything, so they just had her character variant wear her hair down. In my last video, I mentioned how Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness could be one of the few shining moments the MCU has had since Endgame. I've been an MCU fan from the beginning and a lifelong Marvel and DC superfan. I love comic book characters and superheroes. I've invested in high-end superhero statues. I'm a consumer of popular geek culture. I love this stuff. I've given free passes to bad writing and major issues in media when it's something so close to my heart all the time. Just look at my Sonic 2 review. Yet this movie leaves me with no excitement for Thor 4. And while this film leads us to believe the Incursion storyline that leads to Secret Wars is where the MCU is headed, it also feels completely aimless and hollow at the same time. This is a reminder that Spider-Man No Way Home was something of a cinematic miracle. Doctor Strange 2 is, unfortunately, Keanu Reeves taking a shit. Until next time, GG's only.
Initiating.
That's crazy. I would say it's mid. I would say it was a mid.